Hi, everybody. It's Big Cheds. I'm back with another chapter of My Battles with Cancer, a candid patient and caregiver's memoir. This is my story fighting cancer, dealing with lymphoma. I'm a survivor. I'm blessed to be here. And I took care of my mom when she had cancer. So I was a caregiver. And I write about my experience to help other people who are just starting to go through it. Um, I'm Cheds Trading on YouTube, where I'm doing this book for free, one chapter at a time. You can also get it on Amazon, Kindle, paperback, hardcover, along with my other books, Trading Quotes and Trading Wisdom, also available on Amazon. But we're doing My Battles with Cancer, and of course, I'm Big Cheds on Twitter. Last time we did, the chemotherapy has stopped working. And now we're on this new chapter, another paradigm shift. So let's just jump right into it. Another paradigm shift. Another paradigm shift. Over the prior few weeks, I had been working diligently on this book, and I found the process to be emotionally draining. And though it was draining, it was also satisfying. It was really important for me to deal with the complex issues surrounding my cancer as well as mom's cancer. And ultimately, that's what this memoir has done. In order to recharge myself during the writing process, I had been taking long walks around town, and I would occasionally stop for lunch at one of my favorite places. This particular day, I did have lunch and had a nice meal. And later that evening, I realized that I'd left my credit card at the restaurant. So I gave them a call and I confirmed that they had it. The following day, just past noon, I set out for another nice long walk to get some exercise and to pick up the credit card. After taking an hour and weaving my way through town, I arrived at the restaurant, I grabbed a table, and I ordered lunch again. About halfway through my meal, I received a phone call from the genetic counselor at the hospital, and that took me off guard. I had briefly forgotten that I was actually waiting to hear the results of that skin biopsy test. That phone call quickly reminded me of that potential game changer. Before I had time to brace myself for the results, the genetic counselor launched right into it and told me that my test result was positive. She explained that I needed to come into the hospital for a follow-up appointment and should schedule a colonoscopy as soon as possible. I was completely stunned by this news, and my mood went from happy-go-lucky to frustrated and morose. The counselor also said that I would likely need to undergo a skin and urine test, and in addition to a colonoscopy, I would have to have an upper endoscopy as well. With this onslaught of unpleasant information, my light at the end of a tunnel of no longer being a patient was shattered into 1,000 pieces. As soon as I got off the phone with the genetic counselor, I sent my sister a text message and I let her know about the results, and she called me right away. She started out by offering her heartfelt condolences, and I reminded her that though it was unfortunate, but we both knew it was a real possibility. I did, however, express my frustration and sadness that I would be a perpetual patient, as I had really wanted to move on with my life without fearing the return of my lymphoma or any other cancer. As a way to look on the bright side, we both agreed that if not for what had happened to Mom, I would have never known about my genetic disorder. And now, with this knowledge, I had a chance to live healthier so I could reduce the associated risks. Armed with this new information, the hospital could keep a close eye on my health and could potentially catch any new cancer forming at an early stage. And in theory, that would stop it from progressing any further. My sister also mentioned some lifestyle changes I should make, such as cutting back on red meat and losing weight. After lunch, I continued my walk, trying to work things out in my head and trying to recenter myself after this life-changing news. On the way home, I gave my dad a call to update him on the latest news in regards to Mom's immunotherapy, as well as my genetic test result. I started out by telling him that Mom's cancer was no longer responding to the chemotherapy, and he was audibly upset by the news. And I comforted him by talking about the fact that we had at least we had some hope in this new immunotherapy treatment, Keytruda. I went over with him as many details as I could remember about our meeting with Mom's medical oncologist, and then I told him about the results of my genetic test. After I told him about the positive test result and what the consequences were, he said with a brutal tone that he was not really concerned for me the way he was for my mom. He reminded me that I was young and had many years ahead of me, whereas my mom was much older and was facing a more serious battle. What my dad said was true and really helped to put things into perspective for me. As the day drew to a close, I went back outside to my man cave to try to decompress from everything that had happened that day. Still reeling from the news about Mom's chemotherapy no longer working, I was hit square in the face with my genetic disorder. However, as much as I wanted to feel sorry for myself, that was not an option, and I had to face facts. I reminded myself that in reality, I've always had that issue, and it was only that day that I actually found out about it. The fact that I now knew about my genetic disorder meant that I would be able to prepare and hopefully fend off any negative consequences in the future. That is how I spun this genetic test result into something emotionally palatable. I called Mom the day before her immunotherapy session began to see how she was feeling and to coordinate our plans for the following day. And she told me that she was looking forward to starting this new treatment process so she could get back to a normal routine. We met at the hospital, and after a short wait, we were taken back to begin her treatment. When we were taken back, that is where we encountered the exact same type of room and equipment as if she were about to receive chemotherapy rather than immunotherapy. It was all basically the same. She had been assigned a side room and with a roughly 8 by 10 feet long with a long beige curtain that could be drawn to give the patient some privacy. And in the middle of the room, next to the IV machine, was a patient's chair. In the corner was a nurse's desk with some chairs for the visitors, and that's where I sat down. Once Mom had settled in, a nurse grabbed her a warm blanket and began the IV drip of saline solution. And then Mom let the nurse know that she was feeling nauseous. I suggested that it was due to her anxiety over starting a new treatment more than anything. And the nurse offered to get Mom some medicine to help her stomach feel better, and she accepted. And then in a few minutes, things started to settle down. About 20 minutes later, it was time to start the immunotherapy, and the nurse connected a bag of the Keytruda medicine to her IV line. Then she called in another nurse to double check on everything to make sure it was right before giving approval to start the medication. And my mom told the nurse that she really appreciated how thorough they were. As the Keytruda began to drip down the line and into Mom's bloodstream, she asked the nurse what kind of side effects she would have to deal with during recovery. The nurse explained that the biggest side effect would be a loss of energy and possibly some inflammation down the road, but she wouldn't experience any of that for weeks. Mom was relieved by her answer, and she explained that she had been expecting to experience side effects similar to that from chemotherapy. Mom and I continued to talk to pass the time, and before we knew it, the 30 minutes was up and the immunotherapy was finished. Neither of us could believe it, as we were both used to multi-hour-long chemotherapy sessions. Mom seemed encouraged by how well it went, and we thanked the nurses for their help before heading downstairs to pick up some medication at the pharmacy. After Mom picked up her prescription, I gave her a hug and said goodbye, and then took off for a long walk around the hospital to get some exercise. Next chapter is what's going on with Mom. It's starting to get dicey, and we'll go over that. This is my battles with cancer, a candid patient and caregiver's memoir. I read about my story as a patient, dealing with cancer and taking care of Mom. This is the free version, one chapter at a time. YouTube at Cheds Trading, Check out my other books, Trading Quotes, Trading Wisdom, also available on Amazon Kindle paperback and audiobook. Folks, thank you for being here. I'm really glad you're here. I hope it's helping, and I appreciate you. So I will talk to you soon. Take care.